Hello? Sharp? Rise and shine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wake up. This isn't a
Time is it?
sleeping room. Time for you to wake up.
Zizi, it's been 3 days. I just need to.
No.
Hey, guys, gals, all those outside and in between. This is SharpZ. Wait, why am I wearing? Where am I wearing this? Zizi, is this for
Because
views
you need to
again?
clean. The boss wanted you to clean. It's that simple.
Fine. Fine. Wait. Wait, is that cardboard?
Yeah, it's cardboard.
Zizi, my contract says no cardboard.
Do you have any idea how stupid that is?
Just get out of here. Just get out. The decade of the 2010s was a pivotal time for horror gaming. Due to the rise of a certain video platform, horror games began to receive a wider appeal. See, one appeal of horror games that is rarely brought up when talking about them is the communal aspect. Similar to old campfire stories or horror movies, while some people can enjoy horror alone, it's kind of like horseshoes and hand grenades. It is way more fun with multiple people. Playing horror games with friends, watching one person play and seeing their reactions, it's like a horror movie with extra steps, because the controller is right over there. At the beginning of the decade, a few games like Tall Guy, Pizza Bear, and the one I forgot all revealed that horror games could find success through the medium of Let's Plays, which, if you don't know what that is, I don't know how to explain it to you, but in the spirit of that, our gameplay will be provided by this idiot today. Is this a normal stream? Do they just usually do this stupid stuff on stream? And I don't know how to answer that question, because it's partially a yes, partially a no. Riveting. During the same year as FNAF, another indie game actually released. One I'm forgetting. What was it called again? I don't know. I'm still drawing a blank.
Oh, come on.
So, Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion, a game which originally released in 2014 as Spooky's House of Jumpscares, is a interesting title among these. While no doubt a part of its popularity at the time was due to the YouTube scene, oddly enough, in recent years, this game seems to have more attention on it, and I kind of wanted to figure out why. See, this game is exactly what it says on the title. A mansion filled with scary stuff, and wait, why can't I jump? Released in 2014 by Lag Studios, in particular by Akuma Kira, an artist whose work will become its own video one day, mark my words, you feline, I am onto you. This game starts fairly simply, with us just entering a mansion, which I'm sure is trespassing, but we can worry about that later. We are then met with the arrival of a ghost child challenging us to run through the mansion. Doing what any normal human would, we proceed to follow the advice of Polter Girl over here and rampage through the floors until... This is Specimen 1, a series of cute cardboard cutouts that jump out of the wall, and the reason I have trust issues. They are simple but effective for the point that they make. Jump scares are a psychological reaction. These designs are not scary, they are adorable. Mostly. But a mix of noises and quick visuals can catch almost anyone off guard given some atmosphere. However, this wears thin quickly, just like cardboard. It's flat, it's kind of bland. And they become annoying yet oddly endearing over time. It got to the point where whenever I saw one, it felt like it was an inside joke that the game and I had in between each other. So, hey, I don't know how you pulled that off, but it works. I mean, hell is more fun with friends, I guess, but the first 60 rooms are fairly uneventful. However, eventually we hit room 60 and say hello to Specimen 2, the Gel Monster. This thing is not actually that scary. Honestly, it's kind of cute to me. I don't know why, but this guy chases you slowly and can spread goo across the floor to slow you down. This specimen's fairly simple, but since it's the first one that can actually kill you, it makes sense. The chases are the main source of horror in this game, and they do work very well, but Goop is a great introduction to that. As for what exactly Goop is, well, Goop's inspired by the Lub Glub from Adventure Time.
Huh?
Yeah, ZZ, it has a dog that can talk. You don't find that terrifying at all?
No?
Honestly, most of the characters that you face feel like slasher villains. Distinctive chase themes, locales, and mechanics to somewhat differentiate them. Specimen 2 here is a great example, since you are aware of the cardboard cutouts by this point. Adding a chase shows their actual purpose. They are not merely here to spook you, but to disorient you or block you. Anyway, after reaching an elevator, we meet Specimen 3, a giant centipede. Unironically. According to the wiki, this thing is based off of Resident Evil, and I can kinda see it. The centipede is a result of genetic experiments, and it wouldn't be out of place in something like Resident Evil. But this enemy has the ability to burrow. Occasionally you'll see these tunnels in the rooms, and hear this guy breaking the door down. It's not too hard to escape though, so eventually we do hit floor 150. Save, and exit. Well, upon entering the 160s, we find ourselves in a school, which is the most terrifying thing that I've ever seen. So, we venture forward a little more until we find our next specimen. Specimen 4, Ringu. But before we talk about her, let's talk about this area. The atmosphere here is amazing, and if I'm being honest, this entire game has great atmosphere. The audio is on point, feeling atmospheric enough to immerse me in the mansion, which also looks okay, kind of goofy. The lower resolution art style and kind of retro look is a little bit tacky at first, but it kind of works with the vibe the game is going for. Spooky's simple art style accomplishes a few things very well. It makes rooms feel very incongruent. Architecturally, this place is just impossible. Rooms loop and exist in ways that physically cannot be explained, and the layout feels, for lack of a better term, liminal, since these halls and doors, despite possibly once having a purpose, now feel like a living hell. Due to the simple designs and layouts, the rooms also just blend together in a way that makes me feel as if I'm going insane. This also makes the special rooms pop out even more. There are a few ones that have everything from arcade machines to Easter eggs to a computer database, but the monster locales are by far the highlight. Like earlier with the centipede monster, we had a lab. Really, the first one's the only one that has a highly disappointing one, and one that I will get into later. But for right now, yeah, I'm having fun. However, let's get back to Ringu. Yeah, I wonder what that could be a reference to.
Wait. Sharp, you're literate?
What, I have hobbies other than games. For anyone who knows it, you're immediately yelling at your screen. The name is a reference to the American title of the Japanese horror film The Ring. Since the American remake already had released here, they decided to call the Japanese version Ringu, after the guy from the Beatles. All joking aside, she's actually a chimera of various Japanese Amryo, or vengeful spirits. Her gaping jaw and opening death rattle, which, for those of you who are not aware with what that is the sound that you make when you're suffocating to death, are taken from Kayako from The Grudge. Sachiko from Corpse Party seems to have inspired her method of movement, her locale, and childlike appearance. and her bloody hands and CRT filter are likely courtesy of Sadako from the Ringu films. J-horror is one of my favorite genres, and seeing a loving nod to it in this style is just insanely neat. Ringu's chase is just okay. She can phase through walls and is slightly faster than Goop, but honestly, her concept is the one thing that kind of loses me. See, most other Onryo kill you in ways that feel supernatural. They leave your body mangled, kill you with a heart attack, or use the power of hair. Ringu here just eats you. These are vengeful spirits. The other three use, as I mentioned, methods that just make no sense, or are incorporeal. Ringu just eats you. This is not stopping her from being one of my favorite specimens, though. I especially like her music, which I think references Japanese school alarms. If I remember correctly, it sounds to some people like an alarm clock, but I just really like the feel of it. It feels unique. It has this kind of eerily childlike air to it. I don't know. And the title of the song is Breakfast Was Too Late, which is a fitting title, needless to say, mainly because Ringu would apparently eat children who did not come to school or follow the rules, and as I mentioned, that's just weird. I just really think that that is the one thing holding her back. Her concept just feels a little boring, and the idea of a ghost eating people was just a little bit too much, methinks. But with how ridiculous the rest of this game can be, Ringu is kind of fitting. It's just eating people. That's the one thing I can't get past. Aside from that, though, any loving tribute to J-horror is something that I will take, and Ringu is a perfect example of that. So, let's move forward. I've talked enough about this child. Alright, room 210. This is some kind of cult room. Wait, the grungy walls, that noise filter, it couldn't be. It couldn't be, right? Arewa Silent Hero desu ka? Yeah, and this is a Silent Hill reference. It's kinda obvious. And this is Specimen 5, a mannequin-looking thing named Bab. Fun fact, I've always had this fear of mannequins. I can't really explain it, I just have it. Moving on. This design takes a few obvious inspirations. The bobblehead nurses and Pyramid Head from Silent Hill 2 inspire the body and weapon respectively. The chase theme resembles Silent Hill music, and the cult-like connections of its origin and relationship with some girl burnt as a sacrifice follows the blueprints of Silent Hills 1 and 3. Also, her gimmick is messing with room textures, just like Silent Hill's Otherworld, and her chase is fairly simple as well, but the atmosphere and just how everything comes together is very well executed. I don't really mind how weird this one is and how easy the chase actually is. I just really like her for, I think, obvious reasons. Okay, so far these monsters are references to Adventure Time, Resident Evil, The Ring, and Silent Hill. So, what's next? At floor 310, we enter a temple that kind of feels like something from Zelda? After grabbing a few keys, we are forced into a room with this puppet named Ben the Merchant. Yeah, no pasta for me, thanks. Geez, I wonder what this is a reference to. It couldn't be Ben Drowned, the creepypasta based on Majora's Mask. Odd inspiration aside, Ben is the specimen that gave me the most trouble throughout this run. Why? Ben here likes to pull the same trick as your friend who knows the anime fighter better than you, and teleport behind you. Usually I found myself using sound cues to acknowledge when he was about to move and then acting. You need to keep an eye on Pinocchio over here or he will kill you, which leaves you with... Okay. Okay. I actually haven't mentioned this yet, mainly because I wanted to hold on until I could find some good footage from my Let's Play of it. Every single enemy, or at least almost every single enemy, I think there's 2 or 3 of them that don't, has some kind of a unique death screen, and, welp, Ben's makes me immensely uncomfortable. Despite my hatred of this guy, I appreciate the mix-up. This is the first chase that forces you to change how you approach the game. When he teleports behind you, you have to quickly stop what you're doing, turn around, and make sure you get some space. I might prefer being able to speed run the rooms, but Ben at least makes things interesting and keeps me on my toes every time he re-enters the chase cycle. This actually brings up one of the core mechanics of the game. See, if you've been watching or have even tried this game out yourself, you'll realize very quickly that the mechanics are very simple. It's a first-person game. You move and look around, and that's kind of it. Aside from opening doors and reading letters, there's not really too much you can do. However, the chases offer enough variety that it really didn't bother me too much. It was just more so how dull the atmosphere could get. And the one thing I did really like about this is the chase cycle mechanic. See, after you encounter a specimen, they have a small or decent chance, depending on which specimen and depending on how lucky you are, to spawn when you enter another room. This allows for the specimens to feel unique and, especially if it's a specimen you like, to make later encounters feel very lucky. I felt like there were some specimens who I would always hope for, be it Goop or Ringu, to reappear, and then other specimens who I was always dreading to show back up, like Ben. Heck, even some of the specimens that I'm kind of neutral on, I would be happy to see them again because it meant that I could spend more time with this various specimen. And this time, welp, we have a different kind of specimen. Floor 410 begins the encounter with the Wall of Flesh, which, I'm gonna be honest, I really don't want to talk about. I just want you to go experience yourself. It's very interesting, and I don't really think I could do it justice in this short little video essay. Just know it's more so a battle against a concept than a specimen in a traditional sense. And since I feel I've already talked about enough, I'm gonna move on. But first, I am required to read this sign that says you should like and subscribe. I don't know if that's gonna get me out of here, but maybe it will. Please do it. I haven't seen the light of the earth in what feels like months, and it's only been a couple days. Speaking of the light of the sun, once we hit floor 550, we see what is the outside question mark for the first time. While we're here, we find the axe, which, the axe is a simple mechanic. You click and you swing it. This mainly helps to clear out wooden boars, destroy cutouts, and defend from various specimens. But my metal pipe. But when we hit floor 558, we meet the Deer Lord. Oh, shoot! An entity inspired by Over the Garden Wall and pop culture depictions of the Wendigo. Just a side note, the pop culture Wendigo and the traditional are two different things. I know a lot of people mention that whenever this comes up, but I'm not a history YouTuber. Bug someone else to explain that. Like Hank Green. Something tells me I'm going to get sued for saying that.
Sharp, we can't afford another
The
lawsuit.
Deer God is another one of my favorites for a couple reasons. Number one, it talks to you, which is a mix of creepy and somewhat endearing.
Why do you run, child?
No pun intended. Number two, the design is amazing. I love the cloak slowly giving way when the player approaches the spirit, revealing all these souls trapped inside, and just the general atmosphere around this thing is wow. It's just intimidating by its existence. I'm about to get jumped! Yep. And the jump scare when it hits you is actually terrifying. That'll do it too. Due to his gimmick, which is the same as Ringu's, except for the Deer God draws the player in and I think is a tad faster, he is one of the most likely specimens to kill you and had me on the ropes a few times. I really like this guy too. While not every specimen is terrifying to me, I find Goop kind of cute, and as a fan of J-Horror, I'm kind of used to what Ringu provides. Deer God is probably the scariest entity so far. Everything here comes together to make Bambi 2 Dear God Why an effective ominous presence when he arrives. Specimen 10 is our next stop on this roller coaster into hell, and this thing is based off of The Thing.
What thing?
You know, The Thing.
I said what thing?
I said it's a reference to The Thing.
What thing?
I said it's a reference to The Thing.
What thing?
John Carpenter's The Thing is a movie about an alien parasite from space that invades a base in the Antarctic. I think that's all I really need to say. The reference isn't the cool part to me, though, it's the chase. This pleasant little teeth monster will follow you at a steady pace. However, if you're too far, it transforms into a worm and is just faster than you. As such, you need to stay a certain distance from this thing, which makes this entity feel unique among its peers. It's like a twisted escort mission, and completely changes how you play the game yet again. This is another entity I really enjoyed. It's unique enough that it makes the gameplay differently while also making it somewhat tense to deal with. My only issue is it does slow the game down a bit, but even then, that's more so an issue with me than an issue with the game. Alright, we've had a lot of great entities so far, so I'm really excited to see what's next. What? Oh shoot, I know this one. I know this one, and I hate this one. No, I'm not loving it. Oh yeah, McDonald's is fun. Let's make that a level. Okay, all jokes aside, I still hate this segment. While the last few could be silly, this just feels a little too weird, and aside from the final area, nothing here feels too intimidating. Compared to Spooky's antics, or the goofy cardboard, which feel like jokes at the player's expense, this place feels like just a McDonald's in the middle of the mansion. We go through a silly children's play place and enter a meat locker, which I will admit was somewhat tense, but after we exit, we are introduced to the beef demon. Look, I'm sorry, but I think this is something that only vegans would be intimidated by. The beef demon has the ability to hide doors, which is kind of useless because I've been going through over 700 rooms, so I know the layouts by now. Aside from the beef demon's ability, though, I honestly think that the music is great, some of the best chase music in the game, and the actual design of the beef demon it's at least unique. It doesn't look like any of the other entities, so good job. It is still my least favorite specimen, though. Let's hope the next two are good. How puzzles work. Oh! Where did that come from? Where did... Okay, that's a little better. This is Specimen 12. Probably my favorite in the game. See, Specimen 12 is a little bit different. It's not just that old man, it's this entire mini segment. What this is a reference to is actually fairly obvious for anyone who knows the source material. It's a reference to Clock Tower, be it the fact that the stinger here sounds almost identical to the one from that game. Is this guy gonna be holding scissors? I need to call ZZ and tell them that someone stole her scythe. The monster, which is a short, balding guy with a weapon that seems completely impractical, or just the general feel of the mansion being lower definition than everything around it, like a Super Nintendo. I really like this segment. Aside from having pretty good atmosphere, it just feels like a love letter to Clock Tower, which is finally getting a re-release. Would you look at that? Hey, maybe I should just keep asking for games to get re-released and it will happen eventually. I am begging you, Capcom, to re-release Sweet Home. I will keep asking this every time I think it's relevant. However, after going through a few puzzles and the basement and escaping this guy, he becomes more like the normal specimens. While the mansion itself that you were in doesn't chase you, the old man does. And, well, after he becomes a chaser, I still think he's pretty good. And, well, my main reason for that is he starts out fairly slow. However, he gains stamina, and eventually he can just sprint faster than the player, gaining on you easily. Also, his theme is an absolute banger and reference to Clock Tower, so despite being more simplistic in design than quite a few of his peers, I really like the guy. The execution's so superb, I can't complain, and sometimes having something simple is just more effective than something that's far out there and crazy. Like the Beef Demon. Comparing this to that, this is something that seems so mundane that it works, while the Beef Demon seems so far out there, I just can't take it as seriously. Alright. We just have one more specimen left. And that is Specimen 13. First, we enter a marine lab, and I'm kind of unsure on what this was a reference to at first. For some reason, my brain was thinking maybe it's a reference to something like Megalodon, but Floor 910 gives us the lantern, and from that point I knew. This is a reference to Amnesia. And that has plenty of monsters to draw inspiration from. So which one did Akuma Kira kidnap and place in the basement?
Oh, that must be the profanity filter kicking in.
You work in hell. Why can't I swear? Our final enemy is based off the sewer monster from Amnesia. Great. I'm not mad because I hate the sewer monster. I'm mad because it's the one that scares me the most. Darn it. Honestly, this entire setting, I should have expected it. It's a marine lab. They have notes on how the whale is being eaten from the inside. How did I not figure that out? Okay, I guess that's kind of on me. But mechanically, this is a fairly fun chase. You have to go from box to box, trying to look at her wake in the water and see exactly where she is. And the specimen itself, she seems to be based on traditional mermaids. The kind that lured sailors out with their beauty and proceeded to drown them. And this one does the same, I think. The fact you can't see this thing most of the time outside of the splash it makes in the water makes it way more intimidating than it has any right to be. Apparently this used to be a fairly bad chase, but through recent patches it's become one of my favorites. Again, I prefer it for the game to completely turn itself on its head. Once you get the hang of this one, it's not too hard, but after this, you have one final checkpoint. Room 995. Only 5 more rooms left. However, I'm not going to talk about the ending of this game. Not because it's not interesting, or because I don't want to talk about the lore, but because that's not why I decided to cover this game. See, what I find odd with Spookies is that it uses references, yet it feels very much like its own thing. See, references are like cardboard. On the surface, they have no substance. However, with some paint, folding, and ingenuity, what is flat on the surface can provide more depth. While it's just fan service on the outside, on the inside it shows an understanding of what works with its various inspirations. Goop is the first specimen, similar to its inspiration the Love Glove, which may have also been Minnie's introduction to horror. The Onryo-inspired Ringu is portrayed first as an urban legend, as Onryo stories often present themselves as the urban legend which turns out to be real. Even Ben the Merchant, a character who is more complex mechanically, follows his source material as a creepypasta where the cartridge is haunted, as his foreign and obtuse gameplay feels really odd, almost as if the game is haunted and this isn't supposed to be here. In short, Spookies uses these references as a shorthand for the player to understand what is going on, but also does it out of love. With Spookies, there's not cynicism here. It's making these references out of a genuine love for the source material. Most of the time. There's one that's in the endless mode, but I think we all know what that is. However, I honestly think that above all, why it works is this game is sincere. Rather than trying to coax the player with lore or the promise of deeper themes, it presents itself with a code of tongue-in-cheek humor which is hard not to find endearing. Despite being just another indie horror game created for YouTube on the surface, much like the mansion itself, there's many floors, many doors, and many places that this could go. There's a lot of depth under the surface here, and I think that's what I love the most about it. Anyway, till next time, guys, gals, and all those outside and in between, this is SharpZ, signing off.